Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's me again. And for those who are watching from different time zones, good morning or good evening. My name is Marilyn, founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions, or CTS Private Limited. And we are passionate about helping leaders and organizations who are continuous learners and action takers to transform and thrive by co creating customized programs with our world class resources. We have served over 3,000 leaders from 30 countries in different industries, including Petronas, Sony, ProLife UK, Ayala Group, Chevron, Tencent, Jollibee Foods Corporation, and Shell, to name a few. Experts says that the pandemic will last for the next 4 to 5 years. Do you know how to stay relevant and adapt in the new normal? Do you find it stressful to lead and ensure performance of a remote team? Afraid that you can't keep your team and business? We are organizing several interventions to help leaders stay relevant and lead effectively, including this kind of interview. And for today, it's gonna be my great pleasure to be able to introduce our leader for the day, Allisha Ali. She followed the classic academic and corporate career path with PhD in chemistry. Alicia ventured into a successful scientific corporate career in pharmaceutical industry. She went on to become a senior partner to the Chief Executive Office in Fortune 500 vaccine company, leading R&D business transformations. With intense training and coaching by the top McKinsey consultants, she led more than 20 transformations, excellence at lean and change management, and operational excellence. During this adventure, her business leadership and career coaching skills were unveiled, especially in helping executives and professionals to rediscover and believe in themselves and to accompany them in their leadership and career development. She followed her dreams and aspiration, driven by her passion to help others achieve their aspiration. She firmly followed her purpose and calling. She has combined her extensive corporate experience, leadership expertise, coaching experience, and certifications, and a lifetime of learning and research to create UniqueYou Careers, a company specialized in executive, leadership, and career coaching. Alicia lives by her message: be more, lead more, and live more. With the support of the coaches and mentors, Alicia continues to master her own life journey by combining her passion and calling for the stage. She enjoys hosting interviews, running workshops and training, and delivering interactive keynotes leadership, business, career, and life management. Daring to eat to the next level, she is actively reaching for her upcoming book on career and life design. So without so much further ado, I'd like to bring in Alicia. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you for that extensive introduction.
I know,
Every time someone introduces me, I realize, wow. Thank
I
you.
know, I
Thank
know.
you.
It's really like a wow. When I was reading your profile last time, it's like, wow, amazing. This woman is like just did everything amazing with her career and life. So yeah, and I'm really glad that you take time to have or to be here in this interview. So I'd like to jump in so that our audience will get so much more from you, from us.
Of course, of course.
So yeah, so to start with, I'd like to have them, like, an idea and a perspective on where you're coming from. So if you can please share with us your leadership experience and influences, reason why you're leading, or your perspective, or what we will learn from you today is.
Yeah, so there's so much to say about leadership. And first of all, I want to acknowledge your leadership in really designing what I've seen you doing this year in terms of transforming and thriving together and supporting the community and leaders around the world, maybe especially in your region, to really um, take charge in terms of the next normal, as you call it. Um, so I'll try my best to bring in as much as I can to support where I see you're coming from. I totally believe that, in fact, most people don't realize that we are all leaders in some way.
True.
A parent is a leader. Your big brother or sister is a leader. Sometimes the baby in the family is a leader. We have team leaders. We have individual self-leadership. We
Mhm.
have people, leaders who lead other leaders. We have the CEO who leads a company. We have the community leaders in religious institutions. We have schools, universities. We have leaders everywhere. Yet, we all struggle to define what is leadership. And if you look around, you would realize that there are two main types. There's the leadership with hierarchy,
Mhm.
which is the classical corporate structure,
Mhm.
and then which is linked to title and responsibility. And then
Mhm.
you have the leadership without hierarchy, which is also linked to title and responsibility, but there's no formal structure in
Mhm.
place. And this is where I believe that it all starts with self leadership. If we cannot lead ourselves, have that level of self awareness and self control, an ability to take care of ourselves first, then it seems a far stretch to be able to try to do that with the people around us.
Mhm.
So I strongly believe that leadership starts with self. And we can take that discussion in many directions, but I'll pause there and see what you've captured so far.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that sharing. And again, I really believe that, I understand like what you've said, everyone is a leader. We learn from everybody, including with me learning from my 1 year old as well. And again, it all starts with you, with us, as you've
Indeed.
mentioned, it starts with self leadership. And having said that, how and what is leadership for you? How would you define it?
Yeah, I would say it's about our ability vis-a-vis other people. So let's imagine you are able to manage
Mhm.
yourself, you have good self-awareness, good self-control. And then when it comes to being a leader towards other people, it means that people are then following you.
Mhm.
Whether you want them to follow you or not, they naturally follow you. And
Mhm.
that has to do with your ability to influence and to impact something that resonates with what they are seeking. So, in being a leader, what we are doing is essentially sometimes you are educating people,
Mhm.
sometimes you are motivating them, sometimes you are inspiring them, and sometimes it goes so far that you're even transforming them. So there are different levels in terms of the impact you can have on the people who are following you and who consider you a leader. Because we may consider ourselves a leader, but if nobody is following us, then it's an oxymoron in a way.
True, true. I totally agree with you on that. So it's all about influencing and impacting, and hopefully, like our goal here is to be able to help others to be inspired and to transform as well. Because at the end of the day, the purpose of having all this is for them to also transform, right? As an effective leader
Indeed,
in
indeed.
their family, in their community, or in their organization, right? So let's move to another topic, which is more towards next normal. How would you define and describe the next normal? Because in the first three questions I have, it's mainly identifying all this before we go through further.
Yeah, so next normal, I imagine you are referring to um, what we have all experienced globally in the past year with respect to the pandemic.
Yes.
I think so. So your question is, how would I describe the next normal? Is that what
Yes.
you're asking me,
Define
Marion?
or
Yeah,
describe
just
the
make
next
sure.
normal.
Yeah, I think, well, it's a brilliant question. First of all, it makes me think, and I guess it makes a lot of people think. There's a saying that the only constant is change, which is a paradox in itself, right? And life is full of paradoxes.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we would say this is the beginning of the end. That's a paradox, and it causes a twist in the mind. And for me, the same is with the next normal. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a paradox. It contradicts itself. It's something that is both true and untrue at the same time, while sounding reasonable. But when you think about it, a core trait of leadership is our ability to be agile, to adapt, and to be flexible to change. Because change, pandemic or no pandemic, every day is the next normal. And
Mm-hmm.
as a leader, if we cannot be so alert to what's happening around us in terms of the environment. We've
Mm-hmm.
heard at your conference, your summit about the VUCA, and I think it was one of the most popular talks. If we are
Yes.
not aware of what's happening around us, then and our ability to analyze that and to take decisions to move rather quickly, then what will happen is that you'll be left behind in your old normal while the rest of the world has moved on into their next normal. So the ability of a leader to always be a few steps ahead,
Mm-hmm.
thinking ahead, revisiting the strategy based on what's happening around them. We spoke about that at my keynote also. Without that vision and that strategy
Mm-hmm.
and revisiting it, looking at the new challenges, we all do SWOT analyses. I like to call them SCOT because instead of weakness, we replace weakness with challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your strengths, your challenges, your opportunities, and your threats. And you take those challenges as a leader in the new next normal. You take those challenges and you convert them. You convert them with your team into projects. How can we use this challenge to improve? And it's that instead of problem solving, we create projects. And
Mm-hmm.
this can really, it's a paradox in itself. It can twist the way we approach um, what's happening around us and make it fun also to go forward. So that's how I see the next normal. It has the pandemic made it more obvious to a lot of people, but this
Mm-hmm.
will happen if you're a business owner or even a team leader or any leader. This will happen every single day, and you have to be on the alert.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I agree with you. Like every day is a next normal. Like every day, there's always change happening, and it's all about us adapting to that change and being able to pivot, and of course, continuously learning, right? To be able to adapt in that whatever that next normal is.
Mhm.
And so, from your experience, you've had a lot of experience. You've reached some of the highest um, positions in the corporate world, and now you're helping a lot of leaders as well in terms of how they would, transition, transform, and as a corporate leader yourself and working with corporate leaders as well nowadays, what would you say is the top three problems that they normally face?
I think the top three problems, as I just said, we can take the problems and transform them into challenges or projects. And I think it has to do with the skills of the leader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember when I gave my keynote, we had like 5 areas. We had the vision, first of all, we
Mm-hmm.
had the strategy, then we had the process and plans, we
Mm-hmm.
had the people, and then the performance. And if you use that image, you would see that uh, you have visionary leaders, the ones who can see where they want to go. And many leaders are good at this. It's a sort of innate trait. If you look at the world's leaders, the ones that come to mind, Gandhi, JFK, they all had a strong vision of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. A lot of leaders have that vision, but a core skill to be able to overcome and to make that real is the ability, first of all, to communicate that vision.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why most of the leaders that we remember are the ones who can stand up
Mm-hmm.
and deliver a strong message of that vision to motivate and inspire people to follow them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have leaders who are not ready to work on their communication skills in terms of speaking to their people, whether it's virtually or live in person, if that part of leadership is not strong enough, and I have failed there in the past also, so I know very well the importance of that, then that's the first step. If you cannot inspire your people on that vision, then the rest would not necessarily fall into place. So that's the first problem. The second problem we already addressed just now, it's with the strategy. And a strategy is, most people would go on most teams, even multinationals, would go off for a strategy retreat once a year. And then they would package that nicely in a slide set, and then it would not be revisited until the next year in most cases. As business owners, we probably fall into the same trap. But that, again, alertness to be able to go in and revisit your strategy with your executive team, with your sub teams, with your lower hierarchical level teams. This is so important, regardless of the size of the business. And for that, you need dedicated staff who have, a keen eye on what's happening. And that's, a lot of companies now have dedicated staff for that because they've learned. But still, it's a major problem and it's more and more needed. And the rest is on operational excellence. If you are not able to give your team the right resources
Mm-hmm.
to be able to deliver, then people would struggle. And again, the human touch, you can have everything in place. If you're not able to have that emotional intelligence, is a big word, but that's self-awareness, social awareness of your company, where it's going, all those soft skills, or shall we say core human skills. Some people don't like the terminology soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
If those are not in place, then you would find the leader struggling to keep the people on board, or the people go off in different directions because they are not engaged. So there are many things within that, but if I were to highlight the 3 major areas, they are not individual problems. The 3 major areas, those are the 3: the vision, revisiting the strategy, and then the resources for the people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much for summarizing that again, to us. And that's actually, I would say that that's also a summary of what we've actually covered in our previous Transforming and Thriving Together.
Exactly.
Those are the top, some of the top topics that
Yeah.
we dedicated even a day for, like communications, for strategies on your day. And also, like, like you've mentioned, it's very important to equip the resources. That includes even the soft skills or soft part, because I think that's where a lot of companies are missing out, especially technical companies. They
Hmm.
invest a lot on the technical programs, but they miss the human skills. And like one of the projects manager that I've interviewed recently as well, he mentioned that, you know, no matter how good you are in what you do, in whether you're an engineer, you have a lot of certificate, but if your attitude is is not there, you're never gonna make it. That's what he told me. And then I said, oh, okay, so at least it's coming from somebody who's actually a technical person as well.
Yeah, indeed. If you look at the World Economic Forum, they have a projection for the top skills required for 2025. And indeed, you have technology use and development as a key area. But the
Mm-hmm.
second highest one, if I remember well, is everything to do with the soft skills and the emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is what we were just talking about, the problem solving
Problem
shift in
solving.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
yes.
I think everyone is quite aware of this. And indeed, it's why now the companies who are ahead of the game, they're investing in their people through
Mhm.
coaching programs, through
Yes.
mentoring programs, and it's the whole basis of the personal development, billion-dollar movement that is happening across the world because people
Mhm.
realize that as I said, it comes from within, and
Right.
usually in the past that will happen through a slow evolutionary process.
Mm-hmm.
But today, in today's world, where we are getting more and more the Eastern culture from you guys coming over to the Western culture, the spiritual, the inner self is so strong that people want to accelerate to
Mm-hmm.
achieve that, and they do that through different means: meditation, yoga, coaching, mentoring, as I said, so many possibilities today for us to accelerate our inner growth, and not only the professional growth in terms of the technical skills.
Right. I totally agree with you. In fact, you've answered almost my question, or almost
We
everything
can talk
from
about
my
it.
which is the importance of, like, what are the important leadership capabilities and skills that you have to have in the next normal to continue to lead effectively. And there you've actually mentioned about coaching, mindset, emotional intelligence, and creativity. Is there anything more that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think you are a training solutions company, Marilyn, and I think you're doing great work with your team. I would say, however, it's not a one-off thing.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly.
I've had trainings where we go off for 3 days and we really learn a lot. But
True.
then to implement that as a habit for the leader, the right infrastructure needs to be in place. And one of my mentors is Robin Sharma, and he says that there are studies done in the UK. You need like 66 days to change a habit, to change a behavior in terms of your personal growth, or to implement something. And the first 22 days, it's really difficult. And in the middle, it's messy, and you want to quit and you don't want to do this anymore. But he
True.
says at the end, it's beautiful and gorgeous at the end. So when we offer these trainings and workshops to people who need it as leaders or even as individual contributors, because everyone is a leader,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to ensure that there is some sort of program to help
Mm-hmm.
them to sustain and implement what they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just I tick a box, I have my notes, I have my pack from my training, I put it in my report in terms of my CV and so on, and I'm ready to go. But in practice, we have the knowledge, but we don't have the applicability.
True, true. And from our experience working with, top companies, even in
Mhm.
Asia mainly, that's what I think what's missing out. Like what you've mentioned, it takes time. It's a journey. It's a process for you to be
Mhm.
able to have that transformation, right? And some people it's just about ticking the ticking the box, right?
Indeed.
And so there's no follow through, there's no intervention, regular intervention, which is much needed for you to really have that transformation and for you to really have that sustainability that you've also mentioned.
Mhm.
And that's the reason why we've actually organized as well this summit. In fact, this summit is not really meant to be a 5 days event, but it's meant to be like a whole year of intervention, so that there will be like follow throughs, sharing, and even the testimonials we've got. In fact, they've already said, like, it's amazing to have similar platform where leaders can actually share their best practices, what they're already
Mhm.
doing well. And sometimes you don't get to realize that, oh, okay, I thought we're already doing something well. But then when I heard somebody else sharing this, then I realized, oh, I think that's better. You see? So you don't really get that much opportunity when you just have the training or internal training for, like, for a day, for 2 days, right? Like what you've
Mhm.
said. If you really wanted to have a sustainability in terms of, creating the learning culture or creating a sustainable result, what you've mentioned, you have to go through the process, you have to go through the journey, you have to go through that, intervention where there's training is just part of it. Like what you've mentioned, there has to be
Mm,
coaching, there
indeed.
has to be
Mm.
mentoring, there has to be follow through, and there has to be, like what you've said, similar to how you revisit strategies, right? So that there will be actions as well, because without that, without the action, without those follow through, you're just wasting your money. Right.
Indeed. So that's where you Marilyn can really lead the next normal in terms of training. You when you are discussing training offers with companies, if you can transmit this need that that is required beyond the actual day of the
Mm-hmm.
training, and how you can support the people who need this the most, to really make it a part of the way they behave for the rest of their lives. So the true transformation, the sustainable transformation. And yeah, we it's your chance to create the new normal there.
Thank you so much for that. That's so nice of you. So moving forward, I'd like to get your insight in terms of, like, what do you believe is the role of learning? I mean, we've been discussing this over,
Mhm.
with the same, like with the other questions I've already asked you earlier. But what do you believe is the role of learning, leadership, and transformation to be able to thrive in the next normal?
So three things: learning, leadership, and transformation. I think we just touched them all, but I'll take them one by one again.
Okay.
Um, so in terms of learning, I think across the world now, people are quite aware that learning never stops. The moment you stop, it's because you've decided, I've had enough. I'm totally retired. Because actually, people read more when they retire. So they haven't stopped learning. They might have stopped applying, but they haven't stopped learning. And this this strong desire for knowledge it's a human trait that we all have, whether you can read or not.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still millions of people across the world that cannot read, which, as a personal goal, I would like to support that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because people really, with that knowledge, even if they don't apply it, they are able to transform themselves and they
Mm-hmm.
are able
True.
to become their self leader. If they want to go beyond self leadership for others to start following them, that's
Mm-hmm.
where they need to start applying the knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and applying the learning, what we're talking about in terms of really using it to change behaviors within self and others. So it all starts with self. That's why we started this conversation, the learning to lead and transform ourselves, and then to be able to take all of that and support others to become better leaders and to be able to transform their world and their part of their contribution to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Great.
it's a cycle. It's a cycle, and
True.
we cannot stop ourselves. It's part of the human condition, and to be able to always aim for something higher. It's our natural state of ambition. So.
True. Thank you. Thank you for that, for wrapping up what we've actually discussed even before the question. So, for me,
It's all intertwined anyway.
exactly, exactly. So,
Mhm.
the last two questions I have for you is my Miss Universe questions.
Ooh.
So, the first Miss Universe question I have for you is, if you have a magic wand and can use it, what will you do?
I think I just touched on it because it's something close to my heart. I come from a country, Trinidad and Tobago is my home country in the Caribbean. And there we have a pretty high literacy rate, 98, more than 98, 99%, which is really good for a developing country.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, there are many teenagers who are underprivileged and they can't get to that next step
Mm-hmm.
in terms of completing their education or far less to get a job.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that I would like to create or to be part of an NGO where I could support underprivileged teenagers, particularly because I think that's our new generation. That's the next generation. The babies would always be there, but that transition into adulthood is so crucial for their confidence, for the rest of their lives, that I would really like to support um, as much as I can, financially or otherwise, to be able to, even if I help one or two, that is something I would like to do. Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
I look for my magic wand to do that.
yes, yes. And I think you can do that because sometimes when when you are, sharing what you learn, your experience, it 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 does help, right? I mean, like when people are listening to you, or when you continuously post or share, somehow somewhere there will be people who are listening that you can actually impact lives. So
Mhm.
I'm sure this is something that you can do well even without the magic wand.
Well, it's good to have the metaphors of the magic one. I like it. I like it. I like
Yes.
it because it means that then you know the image of the leader with the stick, the conductor.
Uh-huh.
I can use my magic one as a leader to be able to instigate and to inspire others to join me in that. So I have a lot of ideas floating around as we speak. Thank you for that.
Yes, sure, sure. So, and my another Miss Universe question is that, if you were if you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be? And do share with us why.
So if I were to ask myself,
a question
A
that you can
question
answer. Yes.
that I can best answer.
Yes. What
um,
would it be? And possibly share with us why.
I think the question I would ask myself uh, would be one that would help your audience to know me a bit better. Um, how did I end up where I am? And it comes back to what we were saying, that I had no idea I'll be where I am today. But again, I know where I'm heading. So the bigger question is, what is my legacy? And we may try to define our legacy in terms of what we really want to leave behind for others to remember us by. That's part of human nature, right? But bigger than that is what is trying to evolve through me. What am I able to leave behind that others can get and use? And this is the toughest question for everyone. So I spent a lot of time trying to find my vision and purpose and passion and calling. And I know where I'm heading. And I know it's a lot of community type activities, but I cannot point it. And that's in itself a quest, because on a quest, the question, on a quest, we are trusting ourselves that every step we take is the right one. We could make mistakes, but we know somewhere inside of us that we are heading in the right direction. So it comes back to the end goal and the means to the goal. And it's not about the destination, it's the journey. But having that trust in yourself, for all the listeners, not everything is exact science. I'm a PhD in chemistry, and maybe in the lab it works like that. But in real life, you have to trust, you have to experiment also, you have to try different things. And your legacy is there for you. And trust yourself that you are heading towards it. And you will make an impact in your family, in your community, in your country, maybe across the world. But if that's what you are meant to do, it will happen. And not judging yourself, accepting where you are, and trusting that you will get there. Did I answer the Miss Universe question?
Oh, that's very, very, very spot on, I would say. I mean, like everyone, I mean, we are supposed to live by our purpose, right? To leave a legacy, right? And trusting that we will get there soon, or sooner or later, right? Yes, I love that question. And that's also something that I've always asked myself.
Yes, yes, it's important to not to beat yourself up about it, but to again appreciation. And we all speak about gratitude, and it's not about just writing the list of things or standing in front of the mirror, but it's truly where you are going as a person, and why that is happening. Mm.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for answering all my questions beautifully. And is there any message that you'd like to share before we actually end this interview?
Oh, there's so much always to say, but I think I've touched it on it all. But to summarize, indeed, the leadership starts with self-leadership. You don't need to be in a hierarchical position, and still many people today believe they need to. So leading from within, you would naturally become a leader to others, and they would naturally follow you. You will not resonate with the world, but the ones who resonate with your message, they will follow you. And the other ones, the other point is about regardless of where you are in your organization, you don't need formal permission to lead. And you can become a leader in the next minute if you wanted to, by taking initiative, by transforming those problems that are around you into projects, into new challenges, into fun things that the team would want to do. And before you know it, everyone wants to move up the ladder, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a career coach, and people talk about the 9 to 5 and so on. But let's face it, every people need a source of income,
Mm-hmm.
and people have aspirations to go higher. And
Mm-hmm.
if you are able to start solving the problems around you and demonstrate to the people that you're working with that you are taking initiative, even if you're not being paid for it, then before you know it, you'll be moving up. They will ask you to move up. You wouldn't have to request a promotion. So it's again self and self initiative and being aware of what's happening around you. And then you are on your journey, whether you're in the corporate world or the business world, you can take on leadership today and transform people's lives.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for
Mhm.
beautifully summarizing everything that we have discussed. And again, I
Thank
thank
you.
you for your generosity and authenticity for sharing with our viewers on what leadership is and how can transformation help us to thrive in this next normal.
Mhm.
So I also thank everyone for watching us. Do join us in the whole year of learning, networking, and other interventions to find and for you to find out more. You can see um, the link below, which is scrolling right now, to find out more on how you can actually join us. So with that, I'd like to leave everyone with this quote from Dolly Parton: if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. A good summary of what we have discussed as well today.
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thank you.
Have a nice day, everyone, and have
Yeah.
a good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.